MapleStory will always be one of those games that is near and dear to my heart. Doing the carnival party quests after school, going to the free market on Channel 1, scamming kids for maple doom singers, grinding for hours and hours killing slimes and pigs and tree stumps. But there comes a time in every man's life where the MMO grinding isn't always what it's cracked up to be. In some of my younger years, I had friends in both real life and in-game playing MapleStory, being part of a guild, going on adventures trying to find some work gloves. But over time, I outgrew the grind, and I found other games to play and took a break from mapling. But in 2023, how does mapling hold up today? How has MapleStory withstood the test of time? Well, the fact of the matter is, MapleStory is no longer MapleStory anymore. You see, everything that you knew about MapleStory prior to the beginning of this decade is no longer true. In 2015, Nexon released new servers called Reboot servers. Well, what is Reboot, you ask? Well, Reboot takes MapleStory and completely guts it from the inside, but then stuffs it back with so much that was missing from the main game. Well, what do you mean by that? Well, MapleStory prior to Reboot has been known for a number of things. A player-based economy, a very lengthy grind, RNG-based scrolls and items that upgrade your weapons and armor, limited time events and quests that power up your character. But with Reboot, the most fundamental change added is no trading whatsoever. No player-based economy, no dropping items, it's all gone. And that might spark some red flags, and you might be asking, how does Nexon accomplish this successfully and still retain its player base? How do you take an MMO and completely remove the MMO fundamentals and still have it be fun? Well, when you take a closer look at Reboot seems to place a greater emphasis on character progression far more than ever before. And when I say character progression, I mean character progression. In a single day, I went from level 10 to level 60. And that's not a full day, mind you. This is only a matter of about 6 hours. Reboot seems to drown you in experience. I will talk to a single character and exhaust a couple of lines of dialogue and level up twice. And this isn't what I'm used to. Getting to level 60 in the past would take a month or two. You would have to grind and grind and grind for hours to try to get enough mesos to prepare to buy gear for your class once you reach your milestone every 5 levels or so. But now with Reboot, monsters will drop equipment based on your character at your level range. And the drop rate is absurd. My equip tab in my inventory is completely full almost at all times. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, there's only about 5 pieces of equipment per character. How does having such a high drop rate do you any good? You're just gonna get duplicates. Well, now most equipment drops have something called potential. And this is nothing new in MapleStory, but now it's reworked to include additional bonuses when potential is revealed on items. Each piece of equipment will vary in its stats or additional buffs, making collecting multiple copies of the same equipment more viable to find one that best suits your needs. Okay, well, that's all well and good, but what about the economy? If mesos aren't for trading anymore, then what are they for? The economy in Reboot is hyperinflated. A GM in Maple gave me a gift box with the message, sorry for intermittent servers, with 50 million mesos and 10 double XP coupons. 50 million mesos. I literally got so much money that I didn't know what to do with it. What do you do with 50 million mesos? Well, it seems like mesos are now for buying equipment enhancement items, potions, and your profession materials. It seems like in Reboot, the professions are completely revamped as well. Prior to Reboot, you'd only gain about 2 professions, but now you have access to all professions at any time. And your 50 million mesos can be used to buy the materials needed before you mine or gather herbs. Making equipment or potions and pills is now easier than ever. And all of this sounds great, and it's definitely a more rewarding experience, but what about the other servers? Well, I tried that out. I decided to make a Demon Slayer character on the Barra server, and I'm just going to be honest, the game is totally dead. I decided to try playing on Channel 1, usually the most popular channel on the servers, and I did not encounter a single person in 4 hours of playtime. I amassed a total of about 4 or 5 equipment drops and about a total of 20,000 mesos in an early level grinding sesh. And what this tells me is, while training is not the culprit of why old school MapleStory died, the new formula works, and it works well. But then why am I making this video then? You might be saying, anybody who plays MapleStory in 2023 knows all this already. Well, I think it is with a forlorn heart that I say that MapleStory is definitely in a better place, but it is not the same. Like, first glance it feels like a much better game, but also more hollow at the same time. When I go into Channel 1 in Hennessy's, not a single person is talking to each other. There is zero social interaction. And that's fine, you don't have to be social to play MapleStory. But there didn't used to be such a lack of social interaction. I remember having conversations and chatting people up in Maple all the time, but I just don't think there is a reason to anymore. Since there's no influx of goods between players, you're entirely self-sufficient. You can get better equipment from grinding solo than anything else any other player could give you. And I mean, you can still fame and defame others as a form of social currency, but fame feels entirely pointless now, as some quests will give you in the upwards of 10 to 15 fame. Old areas I used to visit and I came to know and love, like Pig Beach, are now reduced to 2 or 3 platforms of ribbon pigs before entering Nautilus. Bosses are now reworked to be completely easier. I can solo Azaku at level 50 within seconds with how powerful they made my character archetype. This never used to be the case. You can go on YouTube right now and find a fight of Azaku pre-reboot and they could take in the upwards of an hour. The game is completely streamlined and its formula is perfected, but I feel like to call MapleStory an MMO is dishonest at best. I still play with my friends, but being in a party to hunt mobs feels like more of an inconvenience, as the experience gain is hard nerfed when you're in a party. Even so, the themed dungeons seem to take away the ability to have other players in a party, so it makes the whole party system feel moot from the beginning. Partying the grind takes far longer than talking to a single NPC for a quest and leveling up from just a few lines of dialogue. The game almost passively disincentivizes you playing with others. And that's not to say that it doesn't try to make you play, it's just in a different way that I've known from when I've played before. And that's okay, not every game has to stagnate and stay the same to be good. Change is a good thing, but changing a game completely into something else and still calling it what it used to be just feels off. And this feeling still persists in both Reboot and the other servers. Some areas that I've encountered in the past are still there, but they're like relics of a time lost. They now exist as pseudo-liminal spaces, a recreation of a memory, but completely defunct of its original purpose. And I feel like this is an important topic to cover, as I'm sure I'm not the only one that feels this way entering an online game, only for it to be almost completely dead. When you see how a game has evolved or devolved from your last login from 6 years ago, it's the same feeling when you turn on your Xbox 360 to see all your Xbox Live friends' avatars. It's this lingering feeling of something that is still there, but lost. MapleStory is still around, but it's a shadow of its former self. At least to me, that is. Perhaps people who have started playing with Reboot servers would probably have a completely inverse point of view as to what I'm saying. Perhaps they might deem the more grindy and multiplayer aspects of MapleStory more archaic and irrelevant. And I'm glad to see that MapleStory is still popular. Seeing other people in Reboot is still a welcome change, and it makes the world feel more full. But that empty feeling is still there. The contrast between the other servers and Reboot is night and day, but the similarities of the phrase hollow show still exist between both of these digital realms. The Barra server doesn't have people in it, but the single player feeling in a massively multiplayer online game is a feeling that I just can't describe. It's like a form of cognitive dissonance, like an unworried feeling of something, like an anxiety of something's off, like when you're in a dream. I mean, I just don't know where to go from here. I'm level 70 now, and I could keep going. It's only been 2 days of play, and the mechanics of the game incentivize you having multiple level 200 characters, but I can see behind the curtains. Nexon has streamlined the game to keep you playing for as long as possible, locking behind free rewards, behind getting to level 100 or 200 and beyond. But will I? I am not sure. I think that if MapleStory kept trading and all these modern changes, the longevity of the game would persist and it would have a lot more to do and feel more fun. But to me, it feels good when I drop a mana potion for a friend. Not being able to do that in a multiplayer game that has item drops in it just feels strange to me. And when I pondered on this, I thought of arguments as to why trading would be removed. And the first would be scamming. This is intended to be a children's game. I have scammed in the trading window before. I have robbed someone of 1,000,000 mesos before. I hit accept after taking away the items I was supposed to trade. And I have been scammed before. It's not a good feeling. And removing trading or item drops definitely removes the problem altogether. And that means that there's no risk on Nexon's part, no more reporting scammers to the GMs now, because there can be no scamming at all. How can you steal from somebody if there's nothing to steal? Another reason to remove trading might just be the economy, because drops are so scarce pre-reboot, high-level characters might be paying in the millions of mesos to get a throwing star or a pair of gloves. And this makes the value of certain items fluctuate. And this can discourage you from continuing to play because of the sheer mountain of mesos that you would have to accumulate before getting that piece of equipment. Once you remove that fluctuating value of item drops, it circumvents this feeling of discouragement. And the last and final reason I can think of as to why you would remove trading is to probably focus on character progression. And this is a no-brainer, as the game literally in bright orange font tells you that that's what Reboot is for. But removing trading makes the focus on a more single-player heavy experience without having to rely on others for your equipment and items. And it rewards you for playing the game without the need to interact with anybody else. But the thing is that's what I don't like about maplestory now. I enjoy the single-player streamlining, but I dislike the lack of multiplayer interaction. I can't think of any other way to describe maplestory but as hollow. It's still fun, but it's hollow fun. It's not like an MMO anymore. It's just an MSO, a massively single-player online game. And I still think that maplestory is worth a try today, but to be honest, as a player, I'm more confused than anything. Am I delusional, just a gaming boomer that hates fun? Or am I just noticing a drastic change in the way that games are being played nowadays? I'm not entirely sure, but just let me know what you guys think about this. How you feel about maplestory in 2023, or what you think of this topic in general. If you guys want to find me in Maple, my name is The Slurper. You can find me in Reboot. I am channel 14. And with that, I will see you all in the next video.